The Ghana cedi has come under some sustained pressure over the past 3 weeks. But what has caused this problem, and how can this high rate of depreciation be halted? Is this a challenge of a monetary issue where the Bank of Ghana can just step in and sustain things, or it's more of a fiscal issue? How has the lack of confidence in the outlook of the economy driven this challenge? Or what about the activities of speculators? And what about those who have also argued that the much talked about correction of the Ghana cedi is taking place? On PM Express Business Edition, it's about solutions to the current problem facing the cedi. So look at the cedi's depreciation. What can be done to save the situation? What can be done to save the cedi now? What are the solutions out there? These are the issues you're talking about on PM Express Business Edition. As I engage a finance person, somebody who engaged or plays in the space. Joe Jackson is the director at Dalex. Is joining me live this today for some analysis on this. And what about those who are in the business community? They trade on the market. Are they also contributing to the speculation? Now we get the thoughts of Dr. Joseph. He is the president of the Ghana Union of Trade Association. He's here with me in studio. And also, we can't forget about in all of these things, the thoughts of an economist. Dr. Sakwe is an economist. We join us via Zoom to get the thoughts of an economist on what can be done on the broader economy side to deal with the situation. All these issues wrapped up on PM Express Business Edition. We'll be right back after this break. And welcome to PM Express Business Edition. It's brought to you by Syntex Tanks. Is it strong? It is tough. Now, Syntex Tanks. That is, no matter your water needs, Syntex Tank has all that you need. Syntex Tank is the first to introduce double-layer tank. And now you can have as many layers as you can. Syntex Tank is the first to introduce a white inner layer tanks in Ghana. We now introduce you the customer specs order, which lets you order any color and size of your preference. Syntex Tanks also gives you the longest warranty of 7 years. With no other tank that gives that to you in Ghana. So whatever your water consumption, the size of your project or demand, choose Syntex Tanks. We have agents nationwide. Now call us on 0244 335 168 or shop online at syntexgh.com. Syntex Tank, you're strong, you're tough. And this is PM Express Business Edition as we talk about the Ghana cedi, the way forward. We've seen some sustained pressure just over the last 3 weeks. Is it really about the activities of speculators? Let's give our viewers some quick background and understanding on how we got here as well. And I'll be bringing my guest, that is Joe Jackson and Doc also here as well, and Dusa Kodi as well, to join the discussion. Just a quick understanding in terms of why we've gotten here, or tracking the year-to-date performance of the Ghana cedi. And my producers will put that numbers on the screen in terms of how it started this year. We thought everything has ended. We thought it was just the first quarter pressure. Then, all of a sudden, things stabilized and things with a sustained depreciation again in terms of this whole Ghana cedi. But how did it start this year? And just a quick diagram over there in terms of the rate it started this year, and also the fact that how it also roamed to get to this as well. So from January, we were looking at somewhere around 11 Ghana cedis, 88 pesos interbank, and the FX as well. Quite close. Now in May, it shot up to 14, 55 for the FX rate, and then the interbank rate as well. Now this is more of a diagram that tracks where we were in 2010 and look at where we are today in terms of how much you can get the dollar, both on the interbank and then the forex market as well. And cedi depreciation, fuel increase, and this is the possible impact of that. Transport fares and also prices of goods and services going up. And Mr. Doc is here for us, Guta, and telling us what is happening on the market as well. Inflation, monetary policy increases as well. And again, it's about what can be done going forward to deal with the situation. And then let me bring in Joe Jackson, Uncle. Now, call him Uncle Joe. It's been quite a long while. You've been hiding and making some good money.
No. A lot of things have happened. You know, the last few months I was set up as acting CEO of Delex Finance.
See, promotion.
Yes. Yeah. You know, our own Ken Thompson retired from Delex Finance.
Oh, congrats.
Yes, no, he's doing some really exciting things now. But he's still a director of the Delex Finance, but not direct. So part of the reason why he didn't see me was that I was settling into a new position.
Reorganization, some would say. Let me get your thought, and I'll bring in the economist. I'll bring in as well. Over the past 3 weeks, what some people have said has contributed to this is the uncertainty. And there's a bit about where you want to blame the speculators and also not blame the speculators, that every rational human being, when I'm uncertain, I need to move to manage that uncertainty. From your end in the industry, engaging people, dealing with the numbers, for you, do you also share the same view that that pressure that we've seen over the last 3 weeks is about the uncertainties, about people betting, it's about the activities of speculators? Because the structural issues are there constant. The issues about fiscals are there. But over the past 2 or 3 weeks, what we are seeing is not a structural issue. It's not a limited supply of dollars. It's about people betting on it. Do you get the same thing as well? I know you have some documents you also want to share with us as well.
I would say to you that, listen, it's actually a mixture, right? If you ask me what has been happening, there's a lagged effect. Remember that inflation has been consistently high.
But we've seen some drop from 52 to somewhere around 25.
But you see,
a strong drop over a year.
But you see, the problem you face is that it's not as if when inflation hits 50 today, prices double tomorrow. It takes time to have an effect. And the what has happened is over the last few months, we're now feeling the full effect.
Second round effect,
of having prices double since the beginning of last year. And that's what is hitting a lot of the market. Also, listen, uncertainty plays a huge part.
And that is what is driving any rational human being.
And the uncertainties are a lot. Remember, first of all, we've done a deal with the IMF. There's some 300 million coming in. That deal, 300 million, it's not really enough, but it should have settled investor sentiments. But then at the same time, we get to learn that cocoa receipts were pretty poor this year. That the syndicated loan came in late. We didn't buy enough cocoa. So because the farmers the buyers had no money. So the farmers, being rational beings, did other things with their cocoa apart from selling to the registered buyers. That comes in as another issue. Then you forget one key thing. Remember, since December 18th, 2022, we've not paid our commercial debtors. Our commercial FX debtors.
But because we had the debt freezer, we knew that we were negotiating, which will impact on all those
but
things.
You see, what you have to realize is that meant that some of the stability that you saw in the city was in a sense artificial. Because we had stopped, we had raised our hands, said, I can't pay, I won't pay, whatever you used to call it. Once you do that, it means that you are not taking dollars to go and service those debts. Now you are saying that you've reached an agreement. And when you reach an agreement, what does that mean? It means that you have to start again. So as a rational person, given cocoa receipts, given the IMF, and remember, the IMF deal wasn't straight. The uncertainty was created. First, they said it's done. Then they said we hadn't reached agreement with our debtors. Then they said they will give it to you in spite of it. Then we said now we have almost reached agreement. Now remember that all this
uncertainty fed into.
What do you do when you're uncertain? You hold onto what you have. So people are holding onto dollars. People are buying dollars. There's an amount of of what I would call being less, being more careful about liquidating, bringing in dollars than it was before. That same uncertainty means that traders have to be a little bit more cautious. So if you choose to, if you are being harsh, you call it speculation. If you are being kind, you call it being prudent. But it all has a place.
I'll come to you because you have some data you will want to share. But,
Yes.
but Doc Joseph Obeng, I mean, some will say that, haven't we seen this before? Why has that level of uncertainty elevated to that level where some of your members, listen, I have to go out there, rush and get dollars when I don't need it now?
Yeah. It all comes back to what my brother was talking about, uncertainty. And so we are traders, and then we do everything around the dollar in this particular context. We do most of our...
But it's not a dollar economy. We spend cities.
But being an importer, even if China's currency is yuan, what we use to transact whatever goods that we buy is in dollars. The freight charges that we pay is in dollars. The duty that we pay here is benchmarked in dollar. So dollar is very significant component of trading so far as importation is concerned. And so if you depend so much on this and you see whether it was speculation that have pushed it, the forex higher or not, as a rationale being you want to get it where it's cheaper rather than get it where it's higher. So it is not anybody's fault. But one thing that even worries is those people who are outside the importation business who also want to buy the dollar as a store of value. That's where the problem actually comes. Because these people do not have the need of the dollar, but because of the situation, they have to buy...
They are paying school fees in dollars. They are visiting hospitals that they are paying in dollars.
Exactly.
They are buying goods that are denominated in dollars.
So it is very worrying, especially when we are coming from the last quarter of 2022, where we have suffered deflation of about 50%. And 2023 saw some stability, and we thought that we were about to take off and recoup the losses that we made. And now we are hovering about a loss of about 23% now from January to date.
That is not based on the Bank of Ghana rates. That could be different FX rates you use.
Exactly. Because for now, we are even buying the dollar for 15.7. And you say, why? Who even trades?
Is it at the black market? Because
tell you, who
the FX, the forex bureaus are not doing that rate.
You are saying that...
are you buying on the black market?
People do not have... Let me tell you, one thing that Bank of Ghana is doing that they do not know, they are regulatory bodies, but they do not recognize that we trade more with the forex bureaus and then the black market more than the mainstream banks. Because, you know, the fear factor there is that the documentation, the requirement, stringent documentation...
So if you need about $50,000, you won't go and transact with the commercial
they have
bank.
to relax their stringent documentation. So Bank of Ghana do not know the actual volume of trade in the forest in the country. They do
a lot.
They do not know, because those that goes through the black market and then the forest bureau and then the offshore transactions that people do go on the blunt side of the Bank of Ghana. And so all that they have to do, in fact, their core business is not to do the accounting of the business that we do. That we said that, okay, bring your clear documents and all that. It's for GRA to do that. And they do it, post-grant audit and all that, all the time. Yours is to track the transactions that we do. So Bank of Ghana is making a very serious mistake to the extent that people, when they get money, instead of pushing it through the banks, they just go and give it to the
But the Bank of Ghana wants to stop money laundering, and those restrictions are put in place to ensure that nobody uses.
If you make a stringent documentation requirement, then people
are not using the bank.
Then people do not transact through, because for Bank of Ghana, what you need is bill of lading and then your transactional value.
Yeah.
That should be enough for you. And all transactions should come. People will not be panicked about whatever the accounting aspect of all that. They fuse the two. And this is one major cause of our problem, and that the volume of trade is now centered on outside the black market system more than the banking
and that's why
system. And that's where, so if you mention the bank rate is 14.3, nobody is even excited, because you won't get, they won't transact through there. But then there is the black market people who are detecting this pace, and we should know and observe this.
I'll come back to the last time you issued a statement. You warned that you're going to increase prices. You're going to do. Have you done that?
It's a natural sequence.
Have you increased your prices as we speak right now because of this? Or you have not done it?
No.
It was just a threat.
But no. It's not a threat.
Have you done that as we speak right now?
We are not. We have to break even at least.
So you have not done it because you'll be also shooting yourself in the foot if you go that way.
Exactly.
So you have not done that.
And that's what I wrote in our statement, that when we do that, businesses try.
So you have absorbed the cost. You have not increased it.
Businesses tries on turnover. But then you cannot also say that you want to suffer a loss, and that you have to break even. You have to add up the cost to the consumer. But the consumer is also limited. The business that we do, we are not doing in isolation. We do it with the consumers. And so if the prices is high, they are unable to buy the volumes that they used to buy.
So you have tried to absorb the cost despite the dollar effect.
It means that your turnover is curtailed. If it is so, you are unable to service your debt at the bank, you are unable to pay your creditors, and you lose trust in them, and where they would not.
So what is the way forward? Because if you are now using more cities to bring in the same volume of goods, something has to be done. I get from you that you didn't go ahead with the plan of increasing prices. How are you then managing then?
Yeah, that's why I've already said that it's a natural cause. We have to do it. Then sometimes people will then hold stock. People who have the stock, me for instance, I do hold stock a lot.
Oh.
At that time, I do not care whether people will buy and all that. I will use 16 to calculate. If the dollar is 15.7, I use 16 to calculate, so I can hold my stock for a while. But some people cannot hold stock because they owe so much to their creditors, and those people, whether you like, but at this stage, those people that are sympathized most are the retailers. They are not mainstream importers, and people are afraid to give their goods to them on credit because they will lose the value of it. At this stage, when people are owing you, it's more dangerous than you even.
Are you servicing your bank loans?
Definitely, you have to do that if you want to survive. But then I'm saying that you are curtailed because the turnover has gone down because the purchasing power has so reduced. Because I've told you, we have a relation with the consumers. If the prices are high, they cannot buy the volumes that they used to buy. And then if you are not able to turn over your wealth, then it means that you are also unable to service your debt. It's natural sequence.
Let me bring in Dr. Edusa Kodia. He is an economist as well, a senior lecturer at the Economics Department, University of Ghana, Legon. Doc, is it more of a fiscal issue or a monetary issue? We shouldn't also forget how the IMF program has limited the Bank of Ghana's ability to inject with more dollars, because what you guys taught us in school, this thing is just a demand and supply issue. Let me get your thoughts on, for you, how the fiscal situation or how the monetary situation has contributed to this challenge. Dr. Edusa Kodia.
Good evening, and thanks for having me, George. Yes, can you hear me?
Doc, I can hear you. I was asking you about whether the current situation has been worsened by the fund program that has limited the Bank of Ghana's hand in intervention, or it is more of a fiscal issue? Doc,
yes, well, it's good that you put us together, as you brought family members together. Greetings to my seniors in the studio. So back to your question, I think we must not forget about the challenges that the economy faced from 2020, 2021, 2022 coming. We shouldn't forget it's not today's problem. The problem has been there. Okay, so let's remember some things. The government of Ghana has not been able to raise bonds from the Eurobond market since 2022. I'm making reference to this because most often than not, successive governments, when they overrun their budgets, they end up borrowing externally. Also, with the idea that when they borrow externally, they can stabilize their local currency. This act by the government is supported by economic principles. However, it is only supported when your existing public debt is low. But unfortunately for Ghana, anytime we have been going to the Euro market, we come out with a high public debt. And so when the market was shut to the government of Ghana, they've not been able to get enough inflow to shore up the of the city. It's more of a capital account issue than a current account issue. So that is number one. Number two, when the government was in difficulties, they resorted to the Bank of Ghana to also bail them out. So Bank of Ghana did some quantitative easing, and they supported the government's financing of its fiscal deficits. And you all know the problems around it when people spoke against the Bank of Ghana for doing that. And I think the Bank of Ghana also came back to defend their position that there was a need to support the government. And actually there was a need. But the action, also has brought about some of these problems that we see, the monetization, and then the action by Bank of Ghana intervene to print, as it was paid to print to finance government's budget has been a contributory factor. Because when you do that, then you are raising inflation. Whenever you raise inflation, people may lose the value of the cedis and they'll end up, buying dollars as a store of value for the currency, as a sort of value for them. So it is both sides. The fiscal overruns, then the monetary comes in to resolve the issue, and then we have all these challenges. So if you ask me about the fiscal and the monetary, I would say it's the two policies, but it began with the fiscal, where they were having difficulties, and the monetary came in to intervene, and their intervention was necessary at that time. It was necessary. Don't get me wrong, it was necessary at that time. But of course, afterwards, we saw inflation ending the year 2022 with about 54%. And similarly, we saw the cedi depreciating around that period also by somehow 40%. So this is the issue that we have been dealing with as a country for a long time. If your inflation goes to 54%, your cedi depreciates to about 40%, it will take you a long time to resolve this. So this issue, these problems that has been dealt with, we are now getting out of it, and it looks like every time we take a step forward, we take the same step backwards, because the underlying conditions have not been resolved. What are the underlying conditions? The sort of economy we're talking about, being dependent economy, the government's running, budget deficit here and there, and also the Bank of Ghana's, intention to intervene so that we do not, to help the government finance its expenditure. Is the reason IMF have restricted the Bank of Ghana from further financing of the fiscal. You remember that even in the year 2022, I'm making reference to the year 2022 because in that year, we experienced most of our difficulties. Go and look at the balance of payments report by Bank of Ghana. Bank of Ghana made negative balance of about 2 billion or 3 billion. And it's difficult for a country to move from negative 2 or 3 billion to positive. It will take you some time. Even though now we are recording surplus balance of payments, but I'm just recounting this thing to you so that we don't lose sight of what the difficulties have been and how, the IMF program and other interventions by government is to help get out of this mess. Now, of course, it's a difficult situation. Now, the speculative demand, for me, is a major concern here.
And Doc, I just want to make a rude intervention, Doc. Do you think that speculation is a major factor? And let's hold that question constant as well. And what do you also tell those who would argue that maybe the correction is taking place? There are some who have argued that this whole idea or thing about the redenomination didn't help. So now we are seeing the correction taking place. What do you say to that?
Redenomination after 16 years? Well, if you don't rule out some of these things, that's what we call it the macro. Almost every variable in the economy counts. So in as much as I think that it's been a while, I will not rule that out. It may be possible. Every other factor is important here. So the redenomination corrections could be a factor. The structure of the economy could be a factor. The receipt of remittances through informal means could be a factor. Fiscal dominance could be a factor. Monetary policy. So every other factor, because we are dealing with a currency, it's a matter of demand and supply. So anything that causes demand to outweigh supply will lead to depreciation. Anything at all. So we cannot forget about all these things. And I mentioned to you that successive governments have been, borrowing externally to make the corrections, and now the government is limited from borrowing externally. So it's one of the contributory factors. But I think that the redenomination's magnitude, as a contributory factor to this problem may be minimal than the very things that my seniors in the studio have already mentioned.
But Doc, let me try and reframe the question here. The argument is that the cedi has been overvalued over the years, and we are now seeing all those interventions we've done over the years was artificially to prop it up. The fundamentals are not supporting it strongly right now, so that correction is taking place.
Are you referring to the redenomination?
No, I'm referring to the fact that the cedi itself has over the years, because of Eurobond and all the rest, I might be flawed economically. We've used those artificial measures to prop the value up, whilst the fundamentals were not supporting it. So when now these artificial measures are not there, the correction is taking place.
Excellent, George. You are excellent on that. I've mentioned that successive governments from President Rawlings' time, maybe we can go back as President Nkrumah, but successive governments in the Fourth Republic, what we have seen over the years is that anytime the cedi begins to depreciate, they'll go and borrow externally to support it, get IMF support, get World Bank support, get some support from African Development Bank. And all these things we have always said, and if you play some of my tapes, consistently we have been saying that these are just temporary measures. These are just short-term measures to correct the imbalances in the external sector. The long-term measure has always been to get your exports right and to own the exports. You mentioned the structure of the economy. If you go as far back as 1927, you read the plan, the Gettysburg Plan. The plan by the British to all the colonies were that export your raw materials to us in Europe, and then we will refine them and bring them back to you as imports in Ghana for you to purchase. And this structure of the economy, we have inherited it since those years, Gettysburg's years, and we have not, even though attempts have been made, we have not changed this significantly. Mark my words. We have not changed this structure significantly. That is, some of us were so happy about the introduction of one district, one factory, because specialization has always been the key, the main solution to change the structure of this economy. So long as you have this, you import raw materials and you export finished products, you're going to face these challenges. And Ghana has been an import-dependent economy. Import-dependent economy does not mean that you import more than you export. It means that most of your consumption depends on imports. you know, and it's true. Go to the kitchen, go to the living room, go to the bedroom of a typical Ghanaian. Almost every item is imported. And I'm also at the point that since first quarter 2017 up to the time we speak, Ghana, according to Bank of Ghana data, we have been exporting more than we import. I think my video froze, so let me say it again. Since 2017, we have been exporting more than we import. Now, the reason that we are not getting the funds is that we don't have ownership of the exports, complete ownership of the exports. For example, you export crude oil for amounting to about 5 billion, close to 6 billion, and then you own less than 2 billion. Everything else is taken by the foreign company. So the structure of the economy, the ownership of the resources, the ownership of your exports, you can only confidently talk about cocoa, which may be 100% owned by Ghanaians. Talk about crude oil, talk about gold. Ghana is number one exporter of gold in Africa. Number one exporter of gold in Africa is seeing its currency depreciate.
That is interesting. That is interesting. But Doc, I'll come back to you for a very, very critical question. The bit about what should be done now to restore confidence and deal with the activities of these speculators. The thought about some saying that let's dollarize our economy. I mean, I thought those were wild suggestions. Does it play now here or what? But I'll come to my guest in studio. I mean, Joe Jackson, for you as a finance person, somebody who plays in the business space, what do you think should be done now to deal with the confidence issue? Because it's about solutions tonight on PM Express.
But if you want a solution,
you
must have the diagnosis right. I let you have some slides, right? Now,
and my producers will call those slides on set now.
There's a slide called the real cost. And then right after that slide, I want you, if you can, to show up that.
They're going to put that on the screen right now.
On the screen right now. Because you see, Doc started the point.
And they could put it on right now. My producers will call on those slides for you to put on the screen
now. The real cost is just a placer slide.
So you can go ahead,
But think about it. After all, our problem seems to be that where it is supply versus demand for the dollar.
That's the real thing.
That's the real thing. So it means that we don't have enough dollars
to meet
the demand. Right? How do we make dollars? We make dollars by exporting. How do we spend dollars? We spend dollars by importing. So if by all rights and purposes there was more dollars than we imported, what should happen? The dollar, the cedi should actually be appreciating. And if we don't have enough dollars, which means you are not exporting enough, the cedi should be depreciating. But I need that slide, the slide I sent to you. I need that slide to show you something. Now, that slide has what we call our balance of trade, Ghana's trade balance. And it's from December, the next one. Just show me the next. No, go up. Yes, this. Hold this. Now, when you subtract exports from imports, you see that December for the whole year, 2017, it was positive. We exported more than we imported. December 2018, positive. All the way to even the first half of this year, positive. So there's something that is saying here. Why is the cedi depreciating when we are actually exporting more than we import? Can I have the next slide, please? Yes, why is the cedi? Look at this. And this is to illustrate the point that was started by
Dr.
Botswana, when they export $100 of oil, $51.8 come back into the country. Non-oil, diamonds.
Not oil.
Yes, non-oil, diamonds. Nigeria, when they export oil, 51% of the money comes back to the country. Check out Ghana.
But that's what Doc explained about the ownership bit thing.
There's the ownership.
Yeah.
That I'm telling you that the problem is the ownership.
That's the problem.
In fact, for our non-oil, it's as low as 6.5%. And Doc, thank you very much. I think your organization helped produce that policy brief in 2020.
Yeah, I remember.
Yes. No, this is the problem. The problem we have is not that we don't, Guta, you should not be fighting
Guta for them demanding and importing, they are importing, and they are causing the problem.
They're not causing the problem. The problem is that when we export, so think about it. I export $100, but I only get even for oil,
ownership,
$17.
But we have the laws. We have the laws that ensure that the banks
go to my next slide now.
Please
go to my next slide.
No retention.
Can you go to my next slide, please?
Yes.
This is what I've been saying.
Can we go to my next slide, please? Yes. You see, we have to enforce the local content laws. We have to enforce it. And why is it that our companies earn dollars? They export gold.
But the laws are there.
Yes, but we don't enforce it. Why is it that these companies they receive dollars, but why do they pay us our royalties in cedis? Pay DRA in dollars.
Yeah.
Pay your royalties in dollars. Why not?
They claim they need to keep some of these reserves outside the country.
No, you have to pay
payments of
goods
and all the rest. So they won't bring those monies inside.
But you see, when they don't bring those monies, we suffer.
Yeah.
Because he needs $100 to go and buy a tire for a car. He wants to import tires. He needs $100. When we import, and the $400 goes out. When we send things out, only little comes back. And you see, look at the last bit. Let me tell you what happens in other countries. They use what you call
joint venture agreements
and production
agreements.
So what happens in
China? They do it a lot.
Let's assume, and I'm going to be specific. Let's assume Newmont is exporting gold.
Any company, no,
it's fine.
Okay, all right.
It's fine because it's an example.
Okay.
So what do we say? We say to them that 50% of the gold you export, actually, we want to own it.
Exactly.
Charge us for the extraction.
Do we have what it takes to do that? And that's what
Why not? Why not? Why is Botswana able to do it? Why is Nigeria able to do it? Why are other countries able to do it and we can't do it?
We can't do it.
And then we sit here and we complain. When really, we shouldn't be complaining. Really, the city should be appreciating.
Should be.
And I'm saying that, you see, I'm just saying that unless we look at what the problem is, and we've all said, oh, Ghana likes to import. Ghana likes to import.
The data shows that it is slowing down.
Not just slowing down, it shows that for the last how many years, right?
We export more than import.
We export more than import, Doc, thank you. So why is our currency not appreciating? Because those that must enforce the law, those that must take us forward, are not. We have given up ownership of our country
to the foreigners.
To the foreigners. And when they take the money out,
they don't come
back.
Exactly. The
gold is for us. Why is that not enough coming out? What is it different about Nigeria that Nigeria can enforce laws that makes it retain 51+% of its export? That Ghana retains a measly 17%.
There was a recent data that suggested that even when we export to Dubai, we're exporting, they have a higher data than what is being declared. So a lot of these monies are not coming back. Listen, they are going into foreign accounts.
So I'm just saying that what we are facing now shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And that if we tackle this issue of ownership, and we can't tackle it in the short term.
But that's a long-term-ish thing.
No, it's not.
No.
It's not. Asking the companies to pay royalties and tax in US dollars is not a short-term thing. Parliament is there. Don't they know how much you are suffering? Can't they change the law? We are all suffering. It's not like the MP is not suffering and I'm suffering. We are all suffering. We are all in this. Why can't we do production agreements? Forgive me, I'm a bit blunt.
Yeah.
Very recently, what did we do? Lithium, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why is the lithium not a production agreement? So that we can retain more.
We use our.
Why is it not a production agreement? Why is it that They take and they give us peanuts. No, and we are suffering. We are the ones, you see, we are the ones who bear the brunt of this issue. And all of us, you see, this is why I'm saying that we should do the right thing. Is that I'm not saying that the politician doesn't suffer. The politician too suffers. When the cedi went from 6.05 in January 2022 to almost 15, he will say 15, I will say 14, because my regulator, I don't want trouble with the regulator. I will say 14. I'll go the back of Ghana. It doesn't matter. Listen, between those 2 years, the dollar has appreciated over 130%. The cedi has depreciated. Half of it has been wiped out. If you were being paid 6,000 cedis a month in January 2022, you could go out and do $1,000 worth of things. Today, if you are paid 6,000 cedis, it's not even worth $500.
Doc, for you, what do you want government to be? I mean, it's a mix of a fiscal and monetary thing.
Okay.
And let's get back to that question I was asking you earlier. That so it appears that you have absorbed this, and so the prices are not going up. But
that's not
how?
True.
No, that's what I'm asking. That I get from him. So because you're not increasing the prices.
Well, who says they are not increasing?
Are you
the price?
doing that?
No,
are you doing that? No, but I'm finding as a member of Guta. Are you doing that?
Prices are going up.
So you are passing on the cost to us.
It's a natural sequence.
What is he supposed to do?
What am I supposed to do?
But if I want someone saying that you have to look at the impact of the ability of people to pay, and the ability on your closing your stocks as well.
Yeah, but what shall I do?
I don't feel any sympathy. Let's all be real. If I'm going to buy this mobile phone, I have a phone here. The phone is not bought in cedis. We don't produce a phone here. Somebody has to pay dollars. If the only way he buys dollars is at 15 cedis to $1,
yeah.
I have to pay that.
Uncle Joe, I get you, but I just want to get some clarity because they issued a statement about a week ago about a threat. I'm just finding out from you, or 2 weeks ago, have you started doing that because you have to stay in business as we speak right now?
I say it's a natural.
So you have
if
done
you're
that.
A business person, you calculate all your costs, and the cost includes the price that you bought the dollar. It's as simple as that. Your mom.
Aren't you worried about the ability of me also to buy your goods as well? Even though you have to do that to stay in business.
I've already said that it hurts my turnover. I've said it. So it doesn't mean that we are interested passing on the cost. The ability of the consumer to buy is very paramount to the business person because we thrive on turnover. But in this particular case, you cannot lose all your capital. I've told you we are already losing capital. Your stocks have depleted. Because first, the volume of trade, if you're able to bring 3 containers, now you are only able to bring maybe 1 container. Your stock is depleted. And so you cannot look on where all your capital got finished. But
Uncle Joe's data will challenge this.
Let me say something to support what Uncle was talking about. You see, the little forest that is able to come from this export, then the most juiciest areas of the economy, which is also being owned by these foreigners, banking, communication industries, and all that, at the end of the year, they also take it all and repatriate
dividend.
And that's why...
But I understand it has been staggered. The dividend payment has been staggered, right, Doc?
Sorry. Is it been stopped or staggered?
Staggered.
It's been staggered, so it will go. Listen, we don't own. We have political independence.
Just want to make
if I should finish, all that we have to do from all that you are saying is that we should have a retention policy. It's as simple as that. That when these companies come, as part of the regulations, the laws that we say, we should be able to say that we should retain about 30% of your earnings and reinvest in whatever thing we are doing. The money belongs to you. It should not be said that all the money should go out, or we make a deliberate effort to invest some money so that we can have some retention in these monies. Otherwise, why? Even let me tell you, this China Mall and then Chinatown and all that in Ghana, They did not bring any corresponding fund on import. All that they
that is an allegation.
It's not an allegation.
Can you able to establish that?
Part of the GIPC law, with the investment. Yeah. All that they have to bring is $1 million worth of goods. Yeah. And please, so they are there, and they do not bring any capital to import. They just bring the goods from their manufacturers, and then they hold on.
Can I say something, Doc?
Yeah.
Doc, you can't have your cake and eat it, and I'll explain why. Yeah. We are not importing enough.
Really?
Yes.
But some are accusing the traders of
I just showed you data that we are exporting more than we are importing.
The data captured officially.
Yes.
Unofficial data.
No, it's correct. Let me tell you what.
No, I'm not doubting your data. I'm just saying that there are a lot of things that happen in the informal market.
No, what I'm saying also is this. Yeah. That you shouldn't be attacking the China malls of this world.
They are also part of
the extraction companies who don't
but it's about how they negotiate. If you don't have officials who are able to negotiate the right law for the country, you don't blame them. Uncle Joe, if I come to invest $2 million into extracting industry and I'm able to bring in people to negotiate an agreement favoring me, you blame those who are the other side in this country who didn't push for a strong agreement.
I agree with you, but the point is this. That's even for the agreement. What about the laws that exist? That
the enforcement.
Enforcing.
GIPC, Trade Ministry.
They are not enforcing.
Ministry of Mines, Lands, and all the rest. Bank of Ghana. I'm just saying that these are the institutions that are supposed to ensure.
No, Bank of Ghana has nothing to do with local content. Yeah. Listen, I've been involved in efforts to increase local content with our extraction industries. They'll give you all sorts of excuses. Yeah. They'll say, oh, there's
global standards,
can well to this tolerance.
A global standard.
They'll say global standards. I'm just saying that we should make an effort to get our guys to meet those standards. We should build capacity. They should even invest in that capacity building fund so that our local content laws can apply. Because they're always circumventing them by saying, I can't find the right person. I can't do this. I can't do that. But we should say, sorry, come 2025 or whatever time makes sense, you have to get it. You have to do it. So the earlier you help us all build capacity, the better. And then, please, your taxes, pay it in dollars. You earn dollars. Pay it in dollars and let me get some dollars and let me get some relief. Pay it your royalties in dollars. Why are you paying in cities? That rule alone can change things.
But let me add one thing. We should also find a way to scrutinize the capital that they declare. Because I have a strong conviction that most of this capital is overpriced. And that they do it deliberately so that they can repatriate more of our funds.
Interesting context.
And I'm telling you the truth.
This is PM Express Business
That's
Edition.
my conviction.
As we look at the depreciation of the Ghana cedi, how can it be saved? What are the immediate solutions? It's about getting solutions tonight on PM Express Business Edition to engage in Dr. Du Owusu-Sarkodie. He's an economist. Uncle Joe, I call him acting CEO of Daily Finance. Dr. Joseph Obeng, president of GUTA. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Welcome to Business, that is PM Express Business Edition, as we look at finding some solution to the current challenge with the Ghana cedi. I'm engaging the president of the Ghana Union of Trade Association, that is Dr. Joseph Obeng. He's here with me in studio. I'm engaging the acting CEO of Daily Finance, Joe Jackson is here with me in studio, and also our economist, Dr. Du Owusu-Sarkodie. So, quick to you, solutions, we say, immediately, what can be done? In the lecture, you always tell us about, we should export more, we should export more. The data shows that we are doing that for you. Quick response to the concerns raised by Joe Jackson about us enforcing the laws. And also, let me get from you, from the macro side, where someone was saying that, listen, we should be talking more, giving investor updates, to try and deal with this confidence problem. But quick response to Jackson's concerns he raised, and also the immediate action that should be taken to at least stabilize things.
Well, if you want my quick response
to Joe Jackson's,
Yes, I would say that, I mean, he and I have been having discussions on it, Dr. Joseph, or being on this. We have met on different platforms. And I'll add to him that he is making reference to the balance of payment. So I'll take you back to the balance of payment, where he tackled the trade balance, that the trade balance has been recording surplus, which is true, a surplus of averagely $2 billion. Now, when you move from the trade balance, you go to the bigger umbrella called the current account. Now, within the current account, the trade balance is part of the current account. Even though the trade balance is recording positive, the current account is recording negative. So what are the players in the current account apart from trade balance? You talk about things like interest payment, debt service, transfers. So your positive trade balance is not enough to outweigh the negative transfer payments. It means that the fiscal problem that we have been talking about, the government needs more dollars to service their debt. So when they do that, the outflow outweighs or becomes bigger than the inflow at the account level. And therefore, the overall current account will be negative because government will need dollars to service their debt. Now, move from the current account to the capital account. The capital account is the actual inflow and outflow of forex is. You can export more than you import, as Mr. Jackson has shown, which is true, but the flow of funds will be seen not in the trade balance, but to be seen in the capital account. The capital account is where you know whether you have the ownership of the money or not. So in the capital account, you see that the outflow of funds, or in other words, the inflow of funds is less than the outflow of funds. In other words, what should bring us more dollars in simple terms, what should bring us more dollars is less than how much dollars leave the shores of the country. What comes in is less than what goes out. So the capital account is where you actually see the flow of funds and the solutions. If you want solutions, then we should go to where the problem is. In the current account, I mentioned the transfer payment, the interest payment, and then also transfers. So you talk about government disciplining itself so they don't overrun their budget to cause more budget deficit. Is a recommendation, and I'm sure they will take it in good faith. And then the retention law, which will also show in the current account about the transfer of funds. So outflow is bigger than the inflow because the multinationals are taking their profits away. And I spoke with one of the officials, somebody who is a big person, in Ghana, a big person, and he said that the reason we are unable to enforce this retention law, it is there, it's not as if it's not there, it's there. The reason we are unable to enforce is Ghana was in difficulties in the 80s, and so we're bargaining from a weaker position. And so we allowed them to come in and we gave them the freedom to repatriate. And that weaker position has been there. We are unable as a country to change that to how South Africa is doing that. You retain a certain portion of your profit in your country. So this is a solution. The first solution is the current account. Go and look at debt service and talk to the government to be restrained on their expenditures. And then you look at also the transfers, the profit, the transfer, the repatriation of profit. And then you can also talk about remittances, the fact that the remittances do not come through official channels. Most of the remittances are through the back door. So all these black market, unofficial avenues for transacting in forex must be closed or must be corrected. Then you come back to the capital account where you actually see the inflow and outflow of funds. So what can help us to get in more inflows? We are waiting for the IMF.
And Doc, I want to make a very rude intervention again on the bit about confidence as we speak right now. And you guys, the economists will always tell us, cerebus paribus, and holding variable constant. If today, and let me hold this scenario constant, and I want your response. If you're able to get a deal with the bilateral creditors today, if you're able to get an IMF deal today, how those elements or variables feed into the the uncertainty and the confidence issue that would have a trickle-down effect on the local currency?
Yeah, because the whole IMF program is to achieve certain objectives. And one of the objectives is to restore investor confidence. So if today we are through with the bilateral negotiations and IMF says that, okay, we are releasing the third tranche, the confidence will be restored, the uncertainties will be cleared, speculative demand will be contained, and that will be a booster for the economy. So I am positive that the IMF deal, when closed, will have massive positive impact in terms of speculative demand, in terms of clearing the uncertainties, in terms of restoring the confidence. So the IMF program is not really...
What about the deal with the bilateral creditors as well? If we're able to have it today as a variable as well, what could be the trickling effect?
Yeah, then you go back to the current account where the government would have needed more dollars or cedis to change to dollars to service the debt. So when you have an agreement with them, it means that there is a rebate or a reduction or a debt relief in terms of debt service. Debt service has two components, the interest payment and the payment of the principal. So for example, imagine that we were supposed to pay $10 billion this year. We reach agreement with the external creditor and say, okay, based on the debt restructuring, don't pay $10 billion, but pay say $6 billion. Then the $4 billion will be a rebate for us. In other words, government, instead of going to change this to dollars for $10 billion, needing $10 billion, they will not need 10, they will need 6. So the current account base will be corrected. And then you come back. I hope I've answered your question. So that will help us make some savings to correct the current account. And then you come back to the capital account. I was mentioning even the release of the 360 million third tranche from the IMF, and also another funds that will be released by the World Bank, and then another funds that will be released by African Development Bank and other trading partners. All these or financial partners, all these will help correct the capital account. I mentioned the remittances and a whole lot. But the short-term solution for me now is that the Bank of Ghana, of course, that's the institution mandated to manage currencies, both local currency and foreign currency. So everything happening here, the bank starts with the Bank of Ghana. They should intervene. But unfortunately, Bank of Ghana has been recording negative balance of payments since 2022, and therefore they are in a difficult position. They are unable, they don't have enough funds, they don't have enough reserves to intervene. Even if they can intervene, the magnitude of the intervention may be minimal. They cannot intervene as much as they would have wished to intervene. And so Bank of Ghana may be limited at this point. And I'm also not surprised that the IMF is restricting them, from all these further interventions. And so Bank of Ghana could have released their reserves to show up the value of the city. But where is the reserve? Recently, their reserve was depleting. They are now building it up. So it will take some time for BOG to actually or fully come to the forex market to intervene. I know they have been doing some interventions, but the funds they have is not enough to do the full intervention that they want. One thing they could do, many people have suggested this as a short-term solution, is to give directives to manage the forex, to manage the interbanks. For example, place a ceiling on how much somebody can withdraw out of counter. That's one. And or make sure that whatever the person is withdrawing is for the provision of essential commodities. So food, medicine, water. So preserve the few dollars that we have, and fuel, I should add, and of course, electricity. So preserve the few dollars that we have for the importation of these essential commodities in the shortest possible time, maybe in the next 1 week or 2 weeks, if it is possible. I'm sure Bank of Ghana by now, they're having meetings here and there. They will look at all these possibilities. If it's possible, just give that directive. But Dr. Ojeso made a point that the black market is booming, it's flourishing. So the BOG can give this directive to the forex bureaus or even to the banks. But can they control the activities of the black market? I'm not sure they have that much power over the black market. So some of these things, may not give the usual results. So I think that the hope we have now should be the intervention by the IMF and the World Bank.
I see.
Ghana is able to succeed in the shortest possible time. We're able to succeed with our bilateral negotiations, get the rebate or the relief, and also get the inflow of our 360 million from them. And then we can tackle other medium-term measures like retention. And then Mr. Jackson also mentioned about payment of tax royalties in dollars. These are all interventions that can be done. And the long-term solution for the currency depreciation now should be about industrialization and ownership of our exports.
Just like what Joe Jackson has said.
George, last one. Maybe I may not have time to say this. Maybe just to be sarcastic. Do you know that some people are also enjoying the Cedi depreciation?
They are betting, the speculators. There are people who are betting on this.
People with dollars are enjoying. So in every situation, it's not that everybody is losing. Some people are winners in this situation.
So Doc, just in 2 seconds, do I get from you that for you see a deal with these bilateral creditors and also the IMF coming in as the immediate action that will stay the Cedi depreciation?
Okay. Yes, because the other solution that the Bank of Ghana could have undertaken, they are also limited in terms of the operations of the black market and how much reserves they have. And so if Bank of Ghana had enough reserve, then the first thing they could do right now, today and tomorrow, is to intervene, with reserves. But they are also careful not to bring in more or deplete their reserves. What happened in the future. So I think that apart from Bank of Ghana's intervention, the next hope is the IMF program and the bilateral negotiation.
Let me come to my guest in studio, Doctor. I'm still calling you Doc. I don't know whether the PhD is coming from. Fine. Uncle Joe is back. For you, way forward solutions. What do you think can be done going forward as you try and wrap up on this, Uncle Joe?
Listen, one of the key things we must do is to make sure that in this election year, we don't go overboard.
That's the biggest challenge.
Yes. That in truth...
Faced with seeing the numbers, the polls showing that you might be losing, and you have the money in the bank. Well, go ahead, sorry.
The issue is that we are in an economic crisis. And anybody who thinks otherwise is not reading the numbers right. Cedi has been 2 years.
We've turned the corner.
No, well, you can say what you like, but in 2 years, the Cedi has gone from what? 6.05 to 15. In 2 years, interest rates, take your T-bill, right? Your 181-day T-bill. It was sub 12% in January 2022. Now, it is what? 29, 30% weighted average. What are you talking about? Inflation has gone as high as 50% has dropped. Still, average inflation over the year is what? Is 35% and climbing. Use the rule of 72. It means that prices have doubled in the last 2 years. I could go on and on. We are in a negative spiral. The inflation effect is debasing our currency. Our debased currency is also feeding back into the inflation. We've got to stop this. How do you stop this? Don't spend any more than you can in the election year.
As if there's no tomorrow.
As if there's no tomorrow. As if the only thing you need to do is to win power come December 2024. The other thing you've got to do is, we've talked about it, do some of the simple things. Look at the retention law. Look at the local content. Get them to pay taxes, royalties, etc. in dollars, right? And then long-term industrialization, Doctor talked about it, but also make sure you enhance your local content.
Dr. Joseph Obeng, I mean, will you move away from the informal market and come to the formal market so that at least we can track the inflows and check your purchases and movement of dollars around?
You see, That's how the normal progression of trade was for us to migrate from the informal
outside the banking sector
to the captains of industry. That's what our ASEAN, Spoku Transport and all that, most of them were traders and all, they migrated. So what was the cutoff point? We have to identify where people then, the fear factor came for people to migrate from trading to manufacturing. Maybe the enabling environment that is not right, that the people who are failed in venturing into industrialization and all that, manufacturing, we should look at all that, and if we get it right, then that's the natural progression. You do from tabletop, you get a store, then you trade and you see the volumes. Let me tell you, those people who have succeeded in manufacturing, most of them were traders because they traded in that commodity, know the volumes, know the quality that is required, the packing and all that. So if any person comes from maybe the legal background or political background, and they all fail. So most of the people who have succeeded actually in manufacturing come from us. So it's not that we are that negative. You understand? We are very positive, but the neighboring environment should be created from us. But at the same time, we should also recognize the fact that manufacturing is not complete unless it reaches to the final consumer. And we serve as the vehicle. So we are intertwined with manufacturing.
Industries.
So we are also very significant in the affairs of manufacturing. So it should not be forgotten that a vibrant manufacturing sector depends on the vibrant
trading and distribution.
Yeah, if the distributing sector is not vibrant, you won't see any manufacturing thrive. But let me give some of the
way forward, Asen, for you, for traders. What do you want to be done for so that you?
What have to be done at this time is for policymakers or Bank of Ghana to communicate pragmatic.
You need to be informed, updated. It deals with the market confidence issue.
To
tell us,
because as we've said, people are
they don't know. There's information gap.
Buying their money as a store of value. But if you know that these are the interventions that we are making from this day and the next day and all that, then people will start bringing, because knowing that if I don't bring this and this, what Bank of Ghana is going to do. Communication is very important so that speculation doesn't thrive. In this case, speculation is still very on. And then the cross-border trade of money should be controlled.
It is happening?
Yes. It's
happening.
You know,
some of your members are doing that.
No.
I'm just asking if your members are doing that.
I brought a caution to the government and Bank of Ghana that let's not the forest crisis in Nigeria trickled down to Ghana. It was published. Why did I say so? Because I got a wind that somebody have come from Nigeria and buying almost about 3 million from Tudu. He goes to every
$3 million.
And then this thing came to me, and then I came out of the press. Yes, because you see, it's a matter of putting the money in any of the banks that is operating within the sub-region. You know those banks. When they put the money in Nigeria, they can come here and collect the money in cities, and they go to the black market and buy. And so we trade in this the forest as if we are trading in commodities like tomato and this thing. That's what we are doing. And that's why I've already
They should check on that one to deal with this.
And then above all, IMF, if it is a panacea, then it should be shown.
For now, it appears that is.
Let's not be said that IMF failed in its quest to stabilize the economy. That's not what IMF. So the delays and all that is not needed. If they came here to solve our problem, they should help us solve it. Now you can't. We don't go into this. Come to suppress us in so many things. If it is not necessary, we don't go to it again. So IMF, should I say, has failed in stabilizing the economy for
that's quite debatable, you know.
Oh, that's how it should do. So they should fast track anything, because at least it also go in their good record that they were able to stabilize the economy of Ghana and all that. So it's not only Ghana that need IMF. They also need the success story. for themselves.
Yeah. Doc, in 30 seconds, Doc, your final thoughts.
On the issue of, I think on the issue of IMF, I think what Dr. Joseph Bin is saying is that IMF has a structure. They deal with you in tranches, come for reviews. But what he's saying is that we are in an emergency situation. So they should revise their strategy.
Exactly.
That's the understanding I'm getting.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying.
So they should know that our problem is bigger than maybe they see. So if they were doing the review in 3 months, they should shorten it to say 2 months or 3 weeks.
And that would help deal with the situation. I know the debate will still, in 30 seconds, Doc.
We should also know that we have another challenge before we went to the IMF program. This is the first time that we had to restructure our debts before securing an IMF deal. So in as much as you are talking about the doctor strategy, you must also talk about how the patient got himself sick, so sick that he needed the doctor's advice.
Okay.
So yes, the directive, I think the announcement by
emergency is emergency.
I'm sure on Monday, MPC will have the MPC press. So as we speak their meeting, once we have, hopefully by Monday, there will be a pronouncement by the governor and the whole MPC team. And Ghanaians know the way forward.
Okay. Doc, I appreciate it. So another debate to still go on in your homes and offices about the way forward in dealing with the current challenge on the Ghana City. Immense thanks to my guest on Zoom, Dr. Du Susakode. He is a senior lecturer at the Accounts Department of the University of Ghana, Legon. Uncle Joe, acting CEO of Dayless Finance. Thank you so much for that. I do appreciate it so much. And also Dr. Joseph for being president of GUTA. And a debate to go on in your homes. Let's talk about it. Let's see what is being done. And this discussion also is a help to restore confidence than aiding any speculation on the Ghana City. Have a great day. This has been PM Express.